Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every week, we're joined by a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts and other stuff they're involved in. My guest today is originally from the San Fernando Valley in Southern California and moved to Lake Tahoe in 1976. He started his martial arts training over 50 years ago in the Chuck Norris System and received his black belt in 1978. He started teaching in 79 and continued to do so over the years, achieved his 7th degree black belt in 1999. He has degrees in Tang Soo Do, Tae Kwon Do, and Hapkido. He was inducted into the Black Belt Magazine Hall of Fame in 2003. Is one of the founding members of Cane Masters and the American Cane System. Please welcome my guest today, Mr. Mark Shuey. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing the best I can.
I love it. I appreciate this, and I'm glad you agreed to do this. It's like I said, I've only had I think one guest ever that did stuff with a cane, and we talked very little about it. So I'm excited to learn more about this and about your journey.
First person ever put a system together on a crook cane.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah, everybody else did straight canes.
Well, what I want to do first is I want to go back. I mentioned over 50 years, but I want to know where that started. I want to know where that first interest in martial arts came from, where that first spark came from that kicked off your martial arts journey.
Well, it was I got out of the Army, and I was working out with a friend. I did a lot of weightlifting stuff back in those days. And we both walked into the gym, and everybody's in there, flexing in the mirrors. And we're looking at each other going, this is not why we're here. So we decided to go out. We went to 6 different martial arts schools. We talked about doing some martial arts, get some training, and ended up with the Chuck Norris System out of, actually in Tarzana. He had 2 close by, one in Van Nuys and one in Tarzana. We started with the Tarzana one.
Okay. After walking into that school, what was it about that specific school that drew you in? I mean, you said you checked out 5-6 different schools. What was it about that one, that style, that instructor that made you want to do it?
They were more interested in fighting. A lot of them were doing wrestling and stuff. I was a wrestler back in high school and junior college.
Okay.
And then we started talking with the guy. The guy was just nice. He was cool. And I was watching Master Norris teaching somebody else. And at that time, he was just starting his movies career. I didn't know I wouldn't get to see him ever again. But
yeah.
And he didn't go to the Tarzana school anyway. He was mainly in the schools in downtown L.A. and in Van Nuys. And so we both went to the one in Tarzana and started working out. Out of 105 students that were beginning, including my friend, I'm the only one that made it to black belt.
Wow. I mean, nowadays that wouldn't surprise me, but back then I thought more people stuck with it. That's interesting. Out of 105, only one.
Yeah, most of them. I mean, by the time they made green belt, they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
Too much time, and I just fell in love with it. I was there 6 to 7 days a week. Nice. I only lived about a mile and a half away. I would jog there and jog back in the evening. I'd spend about 3 or 4 hours. The first few months, I felt like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing because I was a fighter and a wrestler. And I went in the Army and didn't do much. I got in a few fights in the Army, but I was stationed over in Germany.
Okay.
And when I got back, I ended up starting the martial arts, and after 6 months, I fell in love with it.
Wow. Think back to some of those first few classes. Everyone's heard stories. I started in 84, so it was years after that. But what are some of the things you did in a typical class? Walk us through like a typical class that you'd go through one of those.
You want me to think back 16 years? I mean, give me a break here. I just learning all the blocks and the strikes and the kicks. The kicks were interesting because, being a fighter, I knew how to use my hands a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You're blocking the same way, not the way how I got started in learning how to fight was I got beat up when I was picked on or bullied, whatever you want to say, when I was about 10, 11 years old. And I remember sitting on the ground, laying on the ground, saying, this is never going to happen to me again. And my best friend's dad was a Golden Gloves boxer.
Okay.
And he saw what happened, and he taught me how to box, then he taught me how to fight. And after about 2 or 3 years, in the 7th grade, I was walking to school, and the school bully, I was going to Birmingham Junior High at that time, the school bully started picking on me, and my good friend John's going, "Fight him, sure, you can take him, you can take him." I go, "I don't want to fight him, I don't want to fight him." And I went back, and he threw a punch at my face. He did a block and a punch, and he was down. And
Nice.
that started my career.
There you go.
Because I really like to fight. I didn't like to hurt anybody, but I like to fight, punch around, and win the fight. And John would go around and give me a couple fights a week. It was crazy. And
good friend.
It wasn't, back in those days, as long as you didn't fight on the school grounds, you didn't mind, and the teachers would go out in the alleys and referee some of the fights. I mean, I'm going back in the 50s and 60s, but
so John was your manager.
To speak of, yes, he was, and I didn't mind because I was doing pretty good, and his dad taught me how to fight really well.
Okay.
Back in those days, if you kicked anybody, you were a dirty fighter. So I didn't learn how to kick until I got into martial arts.
Yeah, and that was back before, nowadays boxing and wrestling are considered martial arts. Where back there they really weren't. Thinking back, they should have been, but
you didn't even hear about the martial arts that much.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they didn't have any kids under 17 in the schools until after about 2 years after I started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and then how long were you a student there before you got involved in the competition side and started doing tournaments?
Oh, about 4 years. I started probably third or fourth year. I started doing a few tournaments. Okay. And then I fell in love with it. I moved to Lake Tahoe in 77, and they found out that I was a black belt. And we're on my way to it anyway. And the school asked me if I would help the kids because they had a few attacks on some other girls in the school.
Oh, wow.
In high school. And I said, sure. And he said, "What do you charge?" I said, "I'll do it for nothing." And they said, "No, you have to charge something because doing it for nothing makes it worthless. Has no value if you don't pay for it."
Yep.
Which woke me up because I didn't realize that because I was still a kid.
Yep.
And off I went. I started teaching and fell in love with teaching.
Nice.
And I taught there for 40 years.
So was that school connected to the Chuck Norris System? Was it a different style?
No, it was just all by itself.
Okay.
And it was mainly I started just teaching in Incline Village. That's where I live.
Okay.
And I had up to 120 students back in the late 80s and early 90s. And that's for a small town. It's pretty popular.
Yeah, definitely. And was that Tang Soo Do? Was that Tae Kwon Do?
It was Tang Soo Do at the time.
Okay.
And I also back in the late 70s took some Tae Kwon Do and Hapkido.
Nice.
And Hapkido kind of introduced me to the cane.
Okay.
And then I went down to my brother's. This is about 45 years ago. And he lives in Palm Springs. And I went down there, and he took me to see a lady. 3 ladies were brutally attacked and raped the weekend before I got there. And he goes, "This happens all the time." I'm going, "You got to be kidding." And I saw these ladies, and 75 years old. I go, "What the hell?" I had to do something to help them. And I sat back, what could I do to help seniors? And I came up with a knife, a gun, or a cane. And I threw the gun out because I'd spend the rest of your time in court if you did that. A knife, you're too close, and 2 chances of getting cut up. And a cane, legal to carry anywhere in the world, and they can't even ask you why you carry it. And you look at back in those days, the cane barely fit over your wrist.
Yeah.
So I redesigned the cane so it would fit around someone's neck. It's almost like a cattle cane.
Oh, wow.
They're made out of good wood, and I make most of my canes now just in hickory, ash, or sometimes oak. There's 200 different varieties of oak, and if you get the wrong variety, it's not very strong.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. And there's only about 60 different varieties of hickory. And that's all pretty good. Some of them are kind of light. But the people I started buying from, they had a street, I forget what a highway, and they would not cut down any trees south of the highway, but north they would cut the trees because they had more water and they were stronger. And a lot I learned about it. And I fell in love with the hickory cane because I couldn't break one.
Nice. When you were teaching, you said you were teaching for 40 years at that location. Did you start incorporating the cane into your regular teaching, or was that always like a separate thing?
That came later after I slowed down.
Okay.
And I started learning the cane first because I got there calling everybody, "What do you do with the cane?" Nobody could answer me except for my people that did the Hapkido, but they only taught me about 10 techniques. I had to do 10 techniques for my 3rd degree black in Hapkido. And I did my 10 techniques, and I 45 years old. Who needs a cane if you're a third-degree black belt?
Right.
So I threw it back in the closet, and I did learn with one of those small crooks. And then when this happened, I just did some searching, and I figured out a cane, if you're going to use it for self-defense, you need one that goes around someone's arm, leg, or neck. And that's when I redesigned the thing, made it 2 inches wider at the top, at least 2 inches wider. And then I started making different horns. Some were nasty, and some were what I'd call soft. I mean, they all did something.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned that, you need a training cane to start with.
Yeah.
So you don't hurt your partner. So I make a training cane which has a wider crook in it, and it's soft. And then I got into street canes where it comes to a point. And it also curved in, so if you put it around someone's neck, you would scrape off a little bit of skin when I first started. I mean, I wanted, to work. And then I opened up a little bit more so you can put it around the guy's neck, and then if you slip your hand up in there, you can choke the guy to death. But it's, going way back now. But all my canes will go around, 95% of most necks. Big the guy is. And then I started learning how to do throws, how to do flips, and grab knees and arms, and learn how to break things. And all I tell my students, if you go for the guy's head, you're probably going to kill him. So stay away from the head unless it's necessary. To me, if you're fighting more than 3 people, you're probably going to end up killing one of them because you think about, not getting hurt yourself, and you go for the guy's first guy gets knocked in the head usually, and then you take the other 2 out. But I've been lucky. I've never had to use my cane in a fight.
That's good, though.
Yeah.
There's places that make the canes like that are just straight without the curve on the end. Do you also teach self-defense for that, or do you strictly do the canes with the curve on the end?
Strictly with the curves.
Okay.
Yeah, because the other one's a stick. I mean, I learned sticks back in the, Hapkido and stuff. But the cane with that crook, it is amazing what you can do with it.
Yeah.
People don't even think about it because the hardest person to do a cane is a senior. When 99% of them, I see a new guy who's going to hardly walk. I say, you got to start trying to use a cane. They take 2 steps back and go, no, that would make me look old. Well, you are old. Get over that part. But I can show you a few techniques. You'll never feel weak again.
Nice.
So that's even today, you go to a senior that's not carrying a cane, you talk about it, they take a step back. They don't want to touch it because the reputation in the last 100 years is that a cane makes you look old. And most old people walk around, and if you watch, most of them, they're bent over and they're hardly walking at all.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I teach a guy is how to stand up straight and walk with a cane and use it and be proud of it. I tell them, 200 years ago, when you carried a cane, you were royalty.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were a king, queen, or whatever it was, big time in your business, and you carried a good-looking cane. And that's what I wanted to get back to. Nice. So teaching.
And do you do most of that teaching? Is that mostly in person?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. I'm starting to do stuff over Zoom and stuff now.
Okay.
I have about 20 different videos out on cane work.
Nice.
I'll be coming out with some new ones, and after about 15 or 20 years, I designed what I called it a head knocker to start with, but all my staff said, you cannot have a head knocker on a medical device. So I changed it to a palm rest.
Ah, okay.
But you have that palm rest on there, and it's nasty.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm looking at that on your website. Okay. I've never seen that before. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Do you also do you certify other instructors? Is there other instructors around the country that are teaching your system?
Yes. I have a few hundred.
How many?
A few hundred.
Oh, wow.
I did a lot over in Europe.
Okay. I
used to travel all over the place until we had COVID, which stopped it completely. In fact, I sold part of my cane making stuff to a real jerk. So now I'm going back into it because the guy's just a real idiot, doesn't do anything right, and he's trying to do stuff that he was going to do when he stood. He was going to make canes, and I was going to do all the training.
Mm-hmm.
And then God, within a few months, he just changed overnight. It's terrible.
That's too bad.
It is, but what can I say?
Yeah. Did you have a woodworking background when you started designing and making the canes?
Yeah, I was a general contractor for over 20 years.
Oh, okay.
I had 91 employees. I mean, I was busy. I had built 19 houses and hundreds of remodels.
Okay.
All in the Nevada area. I did a few in California, and 99% of them in Nevada. And I love building houses. And if it wasn't for after about 25 years, I couldn't find people that knew how to work. I couldn't even find. I found 2 guys that didn't even know how to use a shovel.
Wow.
I mean, how dumb is that? And I went through a divorce and stuff, and shut down on that stuff a lot. But I shut my contracting business down and just went strictly to teaching cane.
Okay. Do you still travel around since COVID and do seminars and stuff, or not as much?
I'm starting back up again. Like I said, I started about 4 years ago. I thought I'd retire, but retirement is not for me. I'm busy of a guy, so I started teaching again. I'm getting calls. I'm partnering up with Nevin Pratt, and we're going to go out. He lives in Arizona and Utah. I'm here in Nevada, and I got quite a few people in California, and we're going to get started again. What I want to do is get the largest website up with different instructors throughout the United States.
Okay. And
that's my goal right now. Is anybody that wants to learn it, we can certify them. And, because there's so many people from different states that want to learn, and most of the people that I do are on the West Coast. I have quite a few on the East Coast now. And I also let them change the name if they want, as long as they mention that they learned from the American cane system.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I don't mind if they use their school name or whatever and teach the cane. Just tell them their background came from Grandmaster Shuey at the American cane system.
Okay. Do you know if you ever plan on coming? Have you done seminars in Minnesota or any chance of coming here?
I think I have. I've done it in so many states. Like, I'm 78 now, and for some reason my memory is not what it used to be.
No problem.
But I've taught in probably 45 of the 50 states we have.
I'll have to reach out to my original Tang Soo Do instructor that I had trained with in the 80s, because he does cane, and I'll have to reach out to him and see if it's connected with you at all, or if he's learned somewhere else, or maybe
most of them got the idea through me somehow.
Yeah,
because I'm the first one that started doing writings on it and coming with a cane system. That I know.
Maybe I'll work with him and get him to bring you to Minnesota, then I can come through one of your seminars. That'd be cool.
Oh, I love it.
Nice. That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
Set up as many seminars as you want. I love to teach, and it's fun for me, and I like to travel at the same time. So.
Nice. Well, speaking of that, you said you love to teach. So think back to that first time you taught back in like 1979, all the way to now. What do you think has changed the most about your teaching style over all those years?
God, my style. I don't know but I didn't like when I started the martial arts. There was no safety gear, and you had to learn how to fight.
Yep.
And when after the safety gear came in, it wasn't what I would call martial arts anymore. You couldn't kick to the groin, you couldn't grab this, you couldn't do that. And before then, you could do anything you wanted to. I mean, if I wasn't bruised or bleeding after every class, I didn't learn anything. And then when they started the safety gear, the insurance companies got involved. To me, they call it martial arts, but it's not like it was back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. The old blood and guts martial arts, the old days, as they call it.
I mean, you'd hold your punches a little bit, but you'd tap.
Yeah.
So the guy you hit him, and the guy you know that your punch would have worked if you put any more power into it.
So when you competed back then, did you do pretty much just sparring? Did you also compete in forms? Did you compete in weapons?
No, I hated katas. In fact, I failed my first red belt test because of katas.
Okay.
There's Pat Johnson was one of I think he passed away about a few years ago, but I used to love to fight. I was fighting with him, going for my red belt, and he had his private student there, and he was a head taller than me, and I kicked his ass all over the mat. And he did nice katas, but I hated katas, so my katas sucked, and they didn't pass me.
Oh.
And I went back. I said, "Screw this! I kick the guy's ass, and he makes it, and I don't. This is not martial arts." And I stopped going.
Oh,
my main instructor was Harold Gross back in the day.
Okay.
He came to my shop. In fact, he lived with me for quite a while too. When I first met him, he was living in the dojo, and I had a house a mile away, so he moved in, stayed there 3 or 4 years. Anyway, and so I didn't have to pay for martial arts. Just took it on his rent.
Nice.
Yeah, I fell in love with it. I was there probably an average of 3 hours, 4 hours a day.
Wow.
Just practicing. I fell in love with it. It was just nice.
That was me when I was testing when I was going for my black belt. I was training 7 days a week, anywhere from 4 to 7 hours a day. So.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be good at it. In fact, when I just about a month before the test, I went back and took all the basic classes again to make sure I didn't screw up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Basics are important. Got to do that.
Oh, yeah, they really are important. People don't realize how much.
Now, you'd mentioned you taught at that school in Lake Tahoe for over 40 years. Now, did you ever actually go and open your own school, or did you just teach at that school?
Well, it was my own school.
Okay.
I was teaching through the high school, the junior stuff, and the auditoriums they had. There's things called IVGID. They're the main branch of doing all sports in the incline area.
Okay.
And it set me up. First they set me up at the high school, then I went over to the middle school, because it was bigger, it was brand new, and I stayed there. And then I got invited to gyms, but mostly teaching out of the high school and middle schools. And then I went and opened my own school up.
Okay.
I can't even remember when I did that, but I started teaching out of the school.
So are you the type of teacher when your students were, do you get nervous when your students were competing?
I never got nervous. I would just try to help them so they would get hurt. But I'd have to stay away from the head. The rest of the body was fine. And they all, they had to wear cuffs and, all the gear they had. When the gear came in, we had to use it. But I said, practice without it because you're not going to be fighting somebody with gear on.
Yeah.
And I tried to keep it as real as I could for them.
No, that makes sense.
They liked it because these guys would come in, they would think they were hot shit. And my biggest thing was stretching. I was a stretcher. It took me 2.5 years to get into the full splits. I did that when I was, in Chuck Norris classes.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started doing that, I was, I could kick anybody in the head I wanted.
Nice.
And I really believed in stretching. A lot of guys hated it because they got sore and it hurts. I said, well, when it starts to hurt, stop. And you'll start stretching. You won't be hurt because these guys would try to do the splits in 2 weeks and they couldn't walk for about 6 months.
Yep. That was me when I was 16, I think. I didn't know any better.
Yeah, well, I did it slowly and took 2.5 years, and then I could do the full splits in both directions.
The first time I tried to do them, I put on roller skates and went on a hard floor. I'm like, oh, this will help, and just like went down like, ow.
Didn't help much.
No, it did not.
But, going out, yeah.
Yeah, that was not good, but hey, whatever.
Well, I'd like to be good at whatever I do. I was a good fighter back in the just doing street fights and stuff. And then when I got in the martial arts, I didn't want to hurt anybody, but I wanted to let them know that they weren't going to hurt me. Okay. So I was, I held all my punches, but I made a slight contact so they knew that if I put anything into it, they would be on the ground. Nice. Because I so many people out there picking on these young kids and stuff. So I taught them correctly, I think. That's good, though. That's good. So do you remember some of the stuff you had to do for your black belt test? Oh, I had to do everything. You had to go through, you had to do 10 katas. I hated that part of it. Yep, me too. And then in fighting, you had to show all your kicks, all your punches, all your spin kicks, jumping kicks. The first test lasted about 6 or 7 hours. Wow. Okay. I went through everything. Did you do like board breaks and stuff back then? Yep, boards and bricks. Okay. Most bricks I ever did was 8. Nice. And board was about 4. I didn't try doing more of those. Okay. We used real boards. Yep. That stuff we use nowadays is BS, but it all works. You just have to know. You put all your power in it, and you don't get hurt. If you take some of your power off, that's when you break your hand or your foot. Mm-hmm. You have to really know how to bend that ankle properly so you kick with the side of your foot or your heel. And there's a lot to learn. Yeah. And I try to, especially with the kicks, I want to make sure they learn how to get the knee up as high as they can. And once you get it up, you put your hip into it. And most people, when they show the kicks, they don't let the people know that all the power comes from the hip and thigh. Yeah. Where the power comes from. And they would just throw a kick, and I kind of laugh. And, show them how to do it correctly. I can remember kicking a bag, doing side kicks. And I thought I was doing good because I got that bag up halfway. And then, let's forget the guy's name. Bill, what was his last name? Anyway, he said, Shuey, put more hip into your kick. I said, really? And he showed me. We practiced for about 10 minutes. I put it in there, and I did a side kick, and the bag went up and hit the ceiling. Nice. And then from that time on, I was not worried about anybody because I knew if I kicked them with a side kick, they wouldn't be getting up. That's cool. Yeah. You mentioned you did some Tae Kwon Do also. So what do you remember some of the differences you first noticed after training in Tang Soo Do for a while, then switching to Tae Kwon Do? Not really. Mm-hmm. Chuck Norris's way was he liked doing a lot of kicks. Yep. He was in the kitchen. And he didn't do much teaching. I think that in the 6 years I was there, I only met him probably a dozen times because he was out doing his movies. Yep. And I had all those other guys help me out. And John Schumann, that guy was crazy. I think he passed away a few years ago, but he just loved to fight. I mean, if anybody looked at him cross-eyed, he'd try to go punch him out. Wow. In fact, he came up and helped me build houses here for a while. He was a contractor. That's how I started. When I started the martial arts, I had an automotive machine shop. I did a lot of race engines. We did all the machine work for all the big-time racers, boring and all that stuff. And I just fell in love with working out. And after I used to leave the shop at 6 o'clock at night. I started leaving the shop at 4, so I'd get there early. Then when I made green belts, they let me start teaching. And that's when I really fell in love to let these people know how to move their hip. And it helped me too, because I see what I was doing wrong. And I started kind of teaching when I was a green belt. By the time I was a black belt, I was a damn good teacher.
Nice. Okay. That's kind of cool though.
Yeah.
As you know, teaching's not for everybody. So it's
Oh, and some people shouldn't teach.
That is very true. Very true. So obviously you're an expert with the cane. Cane training is a big part of your life. Is there what are one or two other favorite weapons that you learned in martial arts that you enjoyed?
I was playing with the nunchucks a lot because you got to spin those things around. But to me, they weren't practical. Number one, they started a law where you couldn't even carry it. And to me, if you have a weapon, you got to be able to carry it. And that's what really pushed me towards the cane. Yep. In fact, when they first pulled out the cane to show it, I'm going, what are you going to do with that? We're going to teach you how to use it. And I kind of chuckled. And then my instructor, Neil Citron, he was my big-time instructor. Mm-hmm. He just knocked me around the mat for a half hour. And I said, okay, I believe in a cane. You don't have to show me anything else. Yep. And then I started really falling in love with it. And then I made the crook wider, and then I started making nasty canes. I made canes that if you touch, you bleed. But I stopped doing those unless people request them. But I do like making custom canes because I put the person into it. Because most people don't want to carry a cane. Yeah. But if you put them into the cane, something they like. A quick story for you. This family brought in their grandma. And the grandma walks in and she goes, why'd you bring me in this shop? I don't need a cane. She said, Grandma, you have fallen 3 times. And a lot of times, 30% of people that fall die, especially when they're old. And I said, well, she says, I said, how young are you? She says, I'm only 84 years old. I said, oh, only 84. I said, do you have any grandchildren? I have 5 great-grandchildren. And she had this little dog in her hand. So I took a picture of the dog's head, and we did the closest we could. And they put her puppy's head on the crook of the cane.
Nice.
And then I said, what can we put down here? I said, that's when I asked her if she had any grandkids. And she told me she had 5 great-grandkids. So we put her family tree on the front of the cane.
Oh, that's cool.
She carried it everywhere. She was proud of it.
That's awesome.
And that's what you need, because the hardest thing for people to do is carry the cane, because most of the canes they carry, the aluminum pieces of crap. And those things dent up. In fact, those little buttons they have that makes the size go up and down, they get weak and they collapse. And they've had people collapse their canes going up and down a staircase and killing themselves.
Wow.
So I just made a good, strong cane. And I always test the cane before I'd sell it, because you smack it on the cement ground, and if it cracks or breaks, it's not a good cane. You got to start over again. But I always tested the canes before I sold them, so I never had any break on me, unless the guy was an idiot.
If someone is looking to buy one, what are some of the main differences between the canes you design or a cheap $20 one they get like at a...
Well, most of it's the wood. They'll make the cane out of pine or softwood.
Okay.
And you get in a fight with that, and you got a good 90% chance it's not going to make it through the fight, depending on how nasty the fight is. Unless you're just doing pokes, but if you're doing some swings at it, they'll crack. And the first thing I teach people is how to poke first, and then how to swing. And I start from the top of their foot and go all the way to their head, showing them all the different strikes. And there's 4 sides of your body, and you got to learn how to protect yourself and where to hit. Most people that carry a cane, very few of them get in fights, because they can look the guy in the eye and let him know that they're going to take care of business.
Nice. And
the first thing I teach him is the figure 8. And I said, when something's happening, throw a figure 8 and holster it, which is putting the shaft of the cane under your arm. Mm-hmm. Most people run away when they see you do a figure 8 holster, because you're ready to let loose.
Nice.
Yeah.
I notice here you have oak and hickory. So those are the 2 main woods you use?
Oak, ash, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I would say 90 canes that make our hickory now. Okay. There's 3 flavors of hickory. You have the sapwood, which is a white hickory. Then you have the oak wood, and it's pretty good. But there's 200 varieties of oak, and only about 4 or 5 of them are strong or even close to hickory. So I just mainly use hickory because I know it's going to be okay.
Okay. And then what about for the height? How should people measure that if they want to order one online?
Okay. You have to measure the cane. You want to stand up as straight as you can with your favorite shoes on.
Okay.
Then you measure from the ground up to your wrist, and then you add 1 inch. Okay. That's the perfect, as far as I'm concerned. If you go longer than that, it sometimes, depending on how fancy you get. I was in a tournament once, and I had a longer cane. I hit the ground, and the cane flew 30 feet away.
Wow.
In fact, I had to laugh because Bill Wallace was the center judge.
Oh, jeez.
And I looked at him. I said, "Did I hit that guy?" And he said, "No, you missed him by about 2 feet, Shuey." But yeah, I was having fun. I just loved going to tournaments. When I got real serious, I went to a tournament every week somewhere.
Oh, wow.
And some weeks I go 2. I remember going when I started going for world tournaments, NASCA mostly. I went to 2 tournaments in 1 weekend. I won one in Texas and one in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I took both of them, and that put me way ahead of points. And from that time on, I was, not to brag, but I was number 1 in the world for 6 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think, because it's not as common. I don't think I've ever seen someone do cane in a tournament. So that would be... Well,
but when I first started, people saw the cane and started laughing until they saw what I could do.
Yeah.
And then after about my 6th tournament, nobody laughed anymore. They were all serious, and because I was, I was on top. And I went against all different weapons and never lost. There was a few times I came in, 2nd or 3rd place, but very few. I think the last 2 years, I came in 2nd twice.
Okay.
But I was, I was in my 50s, and my last technique when I dropped down to the splits, take the guy out, hop back up again, do a roll, and ended. And they're going, "Shit, he's 50 years old, he can do all that shit." So I had fun. It was interesting that nobody, and when people didn't want to play with the cane because they had it in their mind, they said it was a crutch, and they couldn't see using it. But once they got it in their hand and they started playing with it, they fell in love with it.
That's good, though.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look. Did you write 1 or 2 books on the cane also?
I've got 1 book out. In fact, it's coming out this week.
Okay.
It talks about learning the cane because there's so much you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly go after seniors because they're the ones that need it. And then I'm telling these other people that are disabled. Then I started going after the disabled, and they're falling in love with it. And then I just finished the book. I started a couple years ago, but it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. But it's called Unleashing the Inner Dragon.
Oh, nice.
And the book's only 100 and some odd pages, but it talks about getting started with it and what you can learn. My next book, I want to go through everything and show the techniques and everything else in it. It'll be a pretty thick book. Okay. I have manuals that I've written. Okay. And I have, I think, 3 of those. But my first book is Unleashing the Inner Dragon, and it'll be out next week. Going through Lulu on it, and everybody that's read it liked it so far.
So I was looking through Amazon and searching your name. Did you do a Hapkido cane series with Faribours?
No.
Oh, it's weird because it says starring Mark Shuey. That's why I was maybe it's wrong.
It's what was it?
Mastering Hapkido cane techniques, basic and intermediate level. And it's Faribours is on it, and it says starring Mark Shuey.
Okay, well, I'm not good with names. My memory is not there, so I could have.
It's one of the old Panther ones, so it's probably the video's like 30 years old. So
okay, yeah. Well, I've been doing this for 45 years. So
yeah. Okay.
It's yeah. I just couldn't believe that no one else was playing with the cane. I couldn't find anybody. I called every number I could in the United States and over in Europe, and nobody's the cane. We don't do the cane. So I had to come up with a cane system. It took me about 3 years, but I actually came out with a total system in 99. Started seriously in 95, and I started really learning the cane about 91 or so. Okay. But I didn't talk about too many people. But by the time I opened the thing up, I already had black belts before I started the system because they were good.
That's cool.
I have 8 steps to black belt. Okay. That's what I call them anyway. But I have 8 different, to get to first degree black, we have 8 DVDs, and they're all at least an hour and a half long. Okay. And all they do is they have a complete exercise system, stretching system, and fighting system all together. Okay. So it's not just learning how to swing a cane and hit somebody. You got to learn about a lot of other stuff with it.
Yeah. So it's a full ranked system.
Yes.
Okay. Roughly how long would it take someone to, if they dedicate a couple hours a week to that, how long is the system about?
Well, a couple of days a week would take you 3 or 4 years.
Okay, that's not bad.
Most of the guys, if they're in the martial arts already, they got, half of it already known. So all they got to do is learn how to do the techniques and the throws. I mean, we teach people how to throw people with a cane. You starting with the ankle all the way over to the neck and breaking joints. And I mean, there's a lot to a cane because once you hook the cane and if you put your foot in with it, they're not going to be walking.
Yeah.
You know
Interesting.
what I mean? Yeah.
I'm going to have to look into some of those training videos. That could be a fun thing to add to my arsenal.
It would be. I mean, how old are you?
51.
Okay, yeah, it's time to start.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to chat a little later when the interview is done, because I definitely have some interest in that. That'd
Sounds
be cool.
good.
So over your 50 years in the martial arts, is there one philosophy that is at the top of your list?
I don't know. I never thought about it. My philosophy is you have to practice. It just doesn't come to you. And when you see an opening, you go for it.
I like that.
And usually, if you just tap the guy in the shin, the fight's over because he's hopping around.
Yeah.
And just a tap with a hickory cane from below the knee there. If you don't break his bone, he's going to have a big welt there. I mean, that hurts. And you don't have to hit him that hard. If you hit the guy hard, you're going to break the leg.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, have you ever swung a cane before?
Not as a martial artist. I'm sure just as a messing around, I see a cane and start spinning it, but I've never actually tried to use it as a weapon. I mean, I've trained with the City Stick from Cold Steel. I mean, I've done some stuff with that. And
I remember I went to Cold Steel. They invited me over to the warehouse. Okay, they brought me into the shop. They gave me one of their canes.
Nice.
I walked through there. That had to be 30, 40 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
50 years ago. I've been living in Tahoe for 50 years. So there's a lot to learn, but it's easy to learn. I mean, it comes natural to you.
Okay.
And after you start just using it as a stick hitting and you start learning how to use that crook, they're in trouble because you can hook anything you want. And if you make it the horn sharp, and when you hook and grab, they do what you want.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely interested. So we'll be chatting about that for sure.
Well, after I see what you did, I'll make you a present.
Well, that's cool.
How's that?
Yeah,
okay,
that'd be good.
I'm getting $400 or $500 for my canes now, at least three.
Wow.
I mean, they have a lot done to them. I'm not ripping anybody off.
No.
It takes me 3 or 4 weeks to make the damn thing. But it's depending on what you want on it, I'll make you happy. And when I started putting on that head knocker or the palm rest, whatever you want to call it, that was the best things I ever learned how to do.
That's cool.
And that took me almost a year to fully design it, because when I first designed it, I'd use 2 dowels, glue it together, and the thing would be popping off. And I went to 3, 4. So I had to have at least 4 dowels in the thing. And it's just a lot of, I don't want to call it secret work, but a lot of stuff you got to do. So when you hit somebody with the head knocker, you're not going to knock it off.
Right.
Drop it. So it took a lot of time to get it in the right spot. Cause I had a guy call me up. He ordered a thing with I guess you want to call it a wing on it or whatever. He dropped it down about 4 inches from the top, and he had it there. And I'm looking at it, and then I'm getting all the canes that he sold back, and people are telling me to cut it off. What the hell? And then I looked at it and I said, "Hey, this would be good, but he's too low. He needs to bring it up higher. So your palm will rest on it, and then when you use it to strike somebody, it's going to hit them." And because the way he had it, you had to have a special swing for it to hit it properly.
Yeah.
And this one here, if you just drop your hand down and push the crook towards the guy's face, his face is coming off, and it won't slip off because you got that palm rest there, which grabs it. It's a little hook in there, makes your can feel comfortable. It's not to say that it's a fantastic thing, but it's one of the best things I ever did for a cane. But it does take a good hour just to put the thing on to make it. Then you got to sand it down and have it match and everything else.
I'm looking at some of the pictures online, and they're beautiful, beautiful work on them. So,
well, thank you.
So how about a worst martial arts related injury? Have you had any bad injuries over the years of martial arts?
No.
You've been lucky.
I've had a few broken ribs.
Yeah.
Not me, but I had one. In fact, one of my good friends, he was playing with it, and the guy tapped him too hard.
Okay. As someone who, you said you grew up loving fighting and you enjoyed fighting, what are your thoughts on stuff like that, like MMA and the UFC? Is that something you're a fan of?
No, I don't watch the stuff.
Okay.
I did, 40, 50 years ago, but I haven't watched a boxing match because they're all not what I would call really real, especially the wrestlers. It's fun to watch some of the stuff they do and just to laugh at them. But yeah, most of them are, it's just a show. It's not real. When I was doing good at my regular fighting, they told me that I should go into full contact. And I went, no, most of my friends that are in full contact, once they've been knocked out, they mumble. I don't want to mumble.
Yeah.
If you check what you're doing, you'll find out that the guys have been knocked out. They start mumbling. In fact, one good friend of mine, Tom Foreman, this guy's 6'5", he's fighting people 300 pounds, and he's all muscle, but he got knocked out 6 times, and he was great up till about 3 years ago, and then all of a sudden, boom, he hit. He couldn't remember his name or who he was or anything. He's having a hell of a lot of problems. And just because he was knocked out, even the doctor said, one knockout's fine, but you had 6 of them. So your brain is damaged. And I mean, he's one of my best friends. I haven't talked to him in a year because he can't make a full sentence, and he doesn't like to talk on the phone if he can't talk.
Wow, that's too bad.
Yeah, it is. But I'm glad I made that decision. That's just to be a point fighter.
Yeah.
After I got into the cane, I stopped fighting completely. I just played with the cane.
So let's say for fun that you were gonna like step into the ring and you were gonna do a fight. What would your walk up music be? What song would you pick as you're walking into that ring?
I've never even thought about a song.
Is there like a song that if you're driving and you hear it on the radio, you just turn it up and gets you pumped up? Or
at this second, I can't, because when I get into a fight, my mind is on fighting, taking care of business.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about real fights because I was in a lot of real fights.
Right.
I would say I got in a couple fights a week, and it was fun. I did win, but I didn't want to hurt the guy. When I was in the 11th grade, I was a shop foreman in the metal shop class, and this guy, he was putting gas under the bricks and lighting them, and the bricks were blowing up a foot in the air.
Jeez.
And I went over to him and I said, "Listen, you idiot." I'm not going to tell you the words I used because most of them were 4 letters. And he says, "You want to go outside and do something about it?" I said, "Sure." And he was a head taller than me. And one punch knocked him. I thought I killed the guy. He had an epileptic or some kind of fit. He started bouncing around on the ground and doing weird stuff. And I stopped fighting. I didn't want to see that again.
Yeah.
So I wasn't there to kill the guy or hurt him. I was just there to do a punch and let him know that he was boss. And the fights were over, usually in 15 to 20 seconds. But this guy started bouncing around, and I stopped fighting. When I got in the Army, I got in a couple fights, but that was it. I stopped, having fun fighting people.
Yeah.
That was weird.
When I was in high school, I was lucky. I had a strong head, and I had a bully one time. I think I was a sophomore. The bully that was bullying a lot of people, but I was a smart aleck when I was younger, so I probably said some stuff to him I shouldn't have. My teacher left the classroom, and he walked into the classroom as the teacher left. In the middle of class, there's other students there, and he walks up to me without saying a word, and he headbutts me.
Really?
I looked up at him and started laughing. Because it didn't hurt, and if it did, I wasn't going to let him know that. And I just started laughing at him, and he just looked at me and he turned around and walked away and never messed with me again. So, it's like, yeah, that didn't hurt. Is that all you got?
Yeah. I remember the only fight I had that I walked away on, I was fighting this guy. And every second I was knocking him on the ground. He started bleeding all over the place, but yeah, all his friends were there. They said, "Get up and fight." He got up again and started fighting. I knocked him down at least a half a dozen times. And finally I said, "Okay, you win." I quit and I walked away. So I would have killed the guy.
Wow.
But it was just fun showing some of my tricks and winning the fight.
Nice.
Yeah, crazy. That was back in the 10th, 11th grade.
Yep. So who are 3, 4, 5 names you'd put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts?
Number one for me is Bill Wallace.
Nice.
He's such a nice guy. It's hard to believe he's probably the toughest guy in the world.
Yep.
That I know at his size anyway. And I don't know, Don Wilson.
Nice. Love Don.
And Cynthia Rothrock.
Yes.
I haven't seen her fight in 20 years, but I know her pretty well. We went out to lunch and stuff together.
She's so nice. Such a nice person.
Yep. She's a sweetheart. She really is. I can't wait to see her at the Dragon Fest.
Oh, nice. That's cool. I got to get to that. One of these times I got to get to that.
Well, this one's going to be a big one. He's going to have 100 tables.
Wow.
And Mike, I've known Mike, I guess, ever since he started the
museum.
Yep. And Gary. You know Gary Lee?
No, him, I know the name, but I don't know him. No.
He's the one that started the sports martial arts museum.
Okay.
He keeps track of guys that win the fighting, where Mike carries just the history of all martial arts. And Gary Lee's his name. Okay. You can give my name if you want. I'm one of his generals, whatever you want to call him. But he's a good man. He promotes fighting and knows everybody. He doesn't have a museum. Mike's done a great job with the museum, and Gary hasn't found the place yet. He has to put all of the stuff that he's been getting from fighters and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look him up.
Those are the 2 museums that I only know of. There's only 2 that I know of.
Yeah. Oh, he'd be fun to talk to. I'll have to get a hold of him. Because I know I've had Michael on. Michael's been on the show. Cynthia's been on the show. Don's been on the show. And Bill's been on the show. So pretty much everyone you mentioned except Gary's been on the show. So I'll have to make that happen. Yeah,
his name's Gary Lee, and he's in a wheelchair now. But he's the one that started the what the hell's the name?
Museum of Sport Karate. I just found the website.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to shoot. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to send him an email. That'll be cool.
Please mention my name so he knows who started on this thing. He's got a big event coming up on October 6th, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely get a hold of him. He'd be fun to talk to.
You know, a lot of people.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. How about a favorite martial arts book?
I'm not a reader.
Ooh, okay.
to be honest with you.
No, that's
So
cool.
I don't have any really books that I fell in love with. I glance at them, I read a chapter or two and put them down. But I'm sorry about that part, because I'm mad at myself for not being a reader. I'm a watcher and doer.
Yeah, I get that, and you're not the first one that has said that. So, on myself, I used to read a book a week, but once I started doing this show, I've read like 3 books in the last 2 years. So, I just not much free time anymore, unfortunately. So
that's a problem I have, because I'm usually up by 5 and I don't go to bed till about 11.
okay,
And I'm just doing martial arts. It's slowed down since COVID hit.
yeah.
And I'm starting to get back into it. And I want to get out there and start teaching every week again. I just had my hip replaced, my left hip. They want to replace my right one too, but it doesn't hurt as bad as my left one did. Of course, the guy said, "Well, of course, your left one should have been replaced 3 years before you did."
I don't listen to doctors usually, so. I was supposed to have my knee replaced 30 years ago, and I still haven't had it done. So,
well, but they want to replace my left knee, and it's okay when I walk straight. It's only when I go sideways and stuff. So
okay,
sideways.
You're good then. That's cool. All right, how about a favorite martial arts TV show?
I like the one that Chuck was doing. When he first started,
Walker?
It was a joke, but he got good at it. Walker, yeah, Walker.
That was a great show. A lot of people picked that one. That's a really good show.
Yeah. Other ones, I don't know anybody else that really came up with any good shows. There's good movies.
The newest one that a lot of people have picked has been Warrior, the one that Shannon Lee produced. It was based on her dad's notes for his TV show he wanted to do back in the 70s.
Never saw it.
There's 3 seasons there. It's all on Netflix now. It's a phenomenal show. Really, really good.
What's it called again?
It's called Warrior.
I'll have to get a peek at it.
Yeah, it's amazing martial arts. I had the fight choreographer on the show, and we chatted about it and stuff, and just an amazing show. Great acting, great action. I think you'd probably enjoy it. If you like that kind of stuff, you'd really enjoy it. So
okay, well, thank you. Yeah, I'll take a look at it.
Definitely. All right, you mentioned movies. How about a favorite martial arts movie?
I've watched a lot of them, and remembering the names of the movies is tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
I liked when Chuck started coming out with his movies. I thought they were a joke, but after about 3 years, he learned how to do it. He came out with some good movies.
Yeah,
I like the ones that Norris came out with. He did quite a few good movies.
I think my 2 favorite of his from the 80s were Invasion USA and Delta Force.
Oh yeah, Delta Force.
Yeah, not strictly martial arts movie, but I mean that was Lee Marvin's last movie with Delta Force, and I actually still have in my parents' garage the 6-foot cardboard poster from the local movie theater. I got them to give it to me when that movie came out.
Well, that might be worth something someday.
I know. Yeah. That's still there, so it's kind of cool. But otherwise, I really love the movie Sidekicks that he did in the 90s. That was kind of a fun one. Yeah, he's done a lot of good stuff. So
yeah, I'm not a good remember of names and stuff. If I like something, I like it. But
yeah. How about a favorite movie fight scene? Any movie you've seen in your whole life, doesn't have to be a martial arts scene, just a favorite movie fight scene. I mean,
Bruce Lee had a lot of good fights.
Oh yeah, a lot of people pick his fight with Chuck Norris in the Coliseum. That gets picked a lot.
Yeah, I haven't seen the movie in 20 years, but yeah, I like the Bruce Lee stuff. I watched his. Don't remember the name of his movies, but he was good. I liked a lot. After Chuck was in it for a couple of years, he came up with some real good movies.
Yeah, agreed.
And there's a couple other guys, but I'm not good with names.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a few other people out there I don't mind watching. But if you mention a name, I'll tell you yes or no. But
yeah, I don't think so. But has there ever been a movie that featured the cane?
No.
I was gonna say I don't think I've ever seen one. So
I've had a lot of people talk to me and say they're going to do something, but they never call back. They don't do anything. In fact, even
maybe you should write the script.
I've never written a movie, so I don't know if I could or not.
Hey.
It'd be interesting. I'll talk to a few of my friends. I had to talk to Cynthia because she's getting into producing movies now. So
I know. I'm excited. I want to see Black Creek. I'm excited for that to come out on DVD. So
I remember mentioning it to her last year. She said, "You ought to come up with a Kane movie." She goes, "That's a good idea." I said, "Thank you," but we haven't talked since. I'm going to see her at the Dragon Fest. I'll push her harder.
Yeah, you'll have to give her a little nudge. I'd go see that. That'd be kind of cool.
I want it to be a good movie. I don't want it to be a piece of shit.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't care if I'm in or not. But the cane, people don't know what the cane can really do.
Exactly.
There are so many martial arts schools out there. Go in there and say, "You want to learn the cane? What the hell can you do with the cane? I don't have time. Get out of here." I'm going, Jesus, you're an idiot.
Do you have stuff on YouTube? Like if people want to see some demonstrations of what the cane can do, do you have like a YouTube channel people can see?
I haven't put one together. From my understanding, I'm all over YouTube. I'm not a computer genius.
So there is stuff out there.
There's stuff out there, mainly on YouTube. That's where most people see me first. And I would love to get into it. I don't know how to get into that kind of stuff. I haven't pushed anybody on that. I usually wait for people to ask me and then I'll join in.
Oh yeah. Looks like some people must have converted like some of your videos, because here's Cane Masters, Mark Shuey, Cane Kata. There's a few different videos. There's one that looks like it's at a demonstration you were doing with like all kinds of people watching. So yeah, there's some stuff out here. I'll look through some and put some links when I release this episode so people can check it out.
That'd be great. Yeah. Cause I love doing the martial arts. I love showing people what to do.
Yeah, because I think if people see it, that's what a lot of people are like, oh, what can you really do? Like you said, what can you really do with a cane? But when they actually see it, that might be like, oh, okay.
It wakes them up real fast.
Yeah, this is something I want to try. So yeah, this is cool. I'll put some of these links out when the episode comes out. And well, before I let you go, anything that I forgot to ask you, you just want to be sure to get out there, just last minute words you want to, mention about the cane. So, and like I said, I'll put links to your website and anything else you want me to once this comes out.
Well, I think they got to do is learn how to do all the block strikes, swings and pokes, and the twirling with the cane over the head, on the side, doing figure eights, because that'll stop a fight.
Okay.
Because I've had at least, I would say, 100 people say, yeah, there was 3 guys picking on this lady, and I yelled at them. They looked at me and started coming, and I do a figure eight with a holster, and they all run different directions.
Nice.
And if you do a twirl over the top of your head, they realize that they're going to get hit.
Okay.
I was teaching some police officers.
Oh.
And the first lesson I taught was the police officers. They had one guy behind the building taking pictures of me. And after about 20 minutes, he comes out and he goes, Mr. Shuey, you had that cane going over 285 miles an hour. I said, I wish I knew you were there. Showed off. Didn't really realize how nasty it was. We're police officers because they got to get on all the rest of the stuff. But I remember taking one guy, he was a sergeant. He thought his shit didn't stink. Mm-hmm. I said, well, why don't you be my uke? He goes, okay. First technique, you could just see his eyes widen as big as they could. And he stopped everything. He says, this cane's real, guys. We got to learn it. Most of the people, the police officers, mostly undercover cops carry the cane. Mm-hmm. Because the police officers aren't allowed. In fact, I went over to England. I was teaching about 50 of the police officers over there. And then the captains and whoever the big brass was came in and was watching me and goes, this stuff's amazing, but we can't give our police officers canes because the people will realize what they can do.
Right.
They don't want everybody carrying canes around because that'd be hell if they learn how to use the things. And with you have a crook on that cane, you can get that cane going 300 miles an hour easy.
Wow.
First part of the swing. And you hit them going, over 100 miles an hour, whatever you hit's going to break. Yeah. And it won't be the same.
That's crazy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, learn all the block strikes, swings, and pokes because you don't know what's going to happen. And when you're working out, especially by yourself, because most people are having trouble finding partners because they hit them too often, pretend that you're fighting. I go up to 3 people. After that, the techniques all change anyway.
Okay.
But most people are attacked by 3 or more people. And once you do your side twirls and figure eight, they don't want to fight you anyway. But you get in there and you learn how to hit people in the right spot, going right or left, and learn it with both hands if you can. Because some people have, only have one arm. Some people can't use the left, can't use the right. And I said, well, practice, do what you can with it. Yeah. Just learn how to poke somebody. That's a good start. But you poke somebody in the throat, they're not going to be fighting you anymore. And you poke them in the rib cage, especially the floating rib, it'll crack real easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a good solid 2-handed poke, and they got problems already.
Very cool. Seriously, man, this has been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot, and I definitely want to stay in touch because, like I said, I might have to get some of those videos and find some free time so I can start learning some of this. But it's definitely very intriguing, and I'll put links for everything when the episode comes out, and hopefully get you some more people contacting you. But it's really cool, really interesting, and I mean, it's very practical. Yeah. So I love it.
And I love making custom canes. People know that I'll just bring a cane for them.
That's cool.
Anywhere in the world, because technically they can't even ask you why you carry a cane because it's a medical device.
Yeah.
You say, well, I use it for self-defense. You just turned it into a weapon. They can take it from you.
Exactly.
Well, I tell the people, if a police officer asks for your cane, hand it to them. Don't be better. But if they want to keep it, say, sir, can I have your name and badge number, please? And I've had 4 people. This is exactly how I say it. When they take the cane, say, well, I want your name and badge number because you're taking my cane and fall and hurt myself. Sue. cane back.
Wow.
Because they're not allowed to take away medical advice.
Yeah.
Unless you tell them it's for more than just medical. I just tell them to keep their mouth shut. Just talk about bad hip. They're bad. I say just so you don't get in any trouble. Tell them you have a balance problem. That's something they can't prove. If you tell me you have a broken knee or whatever, they can give you an X-ray and say you're lying. But if you say you have a balance problem, there's no way to check that out.
See, that's why I never had my knee repaired. It's been broken for 30 years, so I'm good to go.
Yeah, but once you start getting used to the cane, and you have to learn to go back and forth, sometimes in your right hand, sometimes in your left. And I used to walk around, and if I didn't look first, I almost hit people behind me because I'd sit there and swing till I'm having a good time. And I go, oh, I'm sorry. But you'll fall in love with it. You really will. Especially you have one that's designed for you.
Yeah.
Because each cane feels a little bit different, giving you some hints to tell people what to look for.
And if someone wants one designed, is that right through which website should they go to for that? Is that the American Cane System?
To the American Cane System, give them my phone number.
Okay.
And my address, if you like. I'd like to appreciate that. But tell them I enjoy making custom canes.
Okay, cool.
And I'll give them a fair price. I'm not going to know.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, your phone number and your email address is right on the website. So yeah, I will put a link for that, and people can contact you and hopefully get some canes.
Yep, I appreciate it.
Cool.
And after I see this story and stuff, like I said, we'll talk and I'll make you a cane you'll be happy with.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it.
So I recommend start with a training cane and then make yourself a custom cane to carry.
Okay. I will do that. Sir, seriously, this has been so much fun. I've enjoyed this a lot. I've learned a lot, and I can't wait to get this episode out. I think the listeners are going to enjoy this one.
Super. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.